Hello and welcome to Tay Radio Marin. I am your host, Briza Osorio, and I am joined by
Avani from San Rafael High School.
Clive Baker from San Rafael High School.
Sammy from Robot High School.
And on today's show, we will be talking about AI and how it affects our day-to-day lives. We feel it's important to talk about this topic because AI continues to advance every day, and we are being surrounded by it more and more. But first, before we get into the conversation, I would like to ask everybody an icebreaker question. If you could be any animal, what would it be and why? So I'll start first. If I could be any animal, I would like to be a cat because I feel like they rest a lot and I like laying on the sun and just sleeping. So yes, that would be my reason.
I think if I had to choose an animal, I would be some type of animal that lives like in snowy regions. So I'm thinking like a snow leopard. I don't know. I really like the aesthetic of like snowy mountains and stuff like that.
Briza, I think your cat idea was fantastic. I love to rest and laze around, so I'll choose a panda.
Yeah, I'm the opposite with you, Avani. I like the sun. So I definitely be like a sea creature or like something that's flying. Like I don't know any specific one that I want to be, but definitely in that zone, yeah.
Those are really good answers, actually. Very interesting. We all have different perspectives in some way. Okay, first question, Clive. I was wondering, what got you interested in learning or talking about AI?
I think most people, when you think of someone who likes to study AI, you're generally going to consider a computer scientist, but my interest actually comes from a philosophical perspective.
Yeah, I mean, adding on, I'm an AP seminar and I was doing this research project on AI bias specifically in healthcare. And I found that there's a lot of different lenses to AI. And, you might not even know this, but AI does have a bias. It does have implicit bias. And it was such an interesting research that I found. And I think that I can dive deeper into like what the AI bias is, where it comes from, and like how it affects people of color in the healthcare system today. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is based on language, and language has a clear bias, whether or not we're consciously realizing it.
Yeah.
Going on from bias, right? When people say AI, right, what do you think most of us get wrong or misunderstand about it?
I think at the core, people forget that AI stands for artificial intelligence. And the philosophical debate about what actually quantifies intelligence is pretty interesting. So specifically talking about computers, Alan Turing he was the creator of the first computer to break down the Nazi code in World War II. And he created a test called the Turing test, which basically said you could classify computers as intelligent whether or based on if they can accurately pretend to speak like a human. So if the words on a screen look exactly like how a human would write those words, you could classify it as intelligence.
What's that movie called again? It's like starts with a C.
It's the Imitation Game.
Yes. And what do they call that system again? They called it like a mission. What type of mission did they call it in the movie?
I forget the mission, but I think no, I can't.
Yeah, no, I watched that movie in AP World History. It was so interesting.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was a really great movie. Yeah, it's really cool actually.
All right. Well, what viewpoints do you have on AI yourself? Like, because there's many people that agree with it, but there's many people that don't agree with it, and there's some that are like in between. What's your standpoint on it?
So my standpoint's actually pretty complex because I think that AI, we've opened Pandora's box. There's no getting rid of AI from now on. And I think the way that we've handled it has been premature. We're not taking enough precautions to make sure it's being used safely. And also in the system that we currently live in, like we see how AI is taking hundreds of thousands of jobs, and we've just not been prepared for that. So with the system that we live in, AI is extremely dangerous, and not just because of like that AI apocalypse, but as I mentioned, like economic reasons, but also it can be highly useful in a system where we don't need to like survive based on a job that can be taken from AI. We'd have way more time for the arts, which I think is highly valuable.
I think I agree with you. I feel like personally for me, I feel like AI could have been like a really good tool, right? Because it could have been used for like good stuff, right? But I feel like the way it's being used, unfortunately, is not the way it should have been, right? So while it could have been a good tool, I feel like unfortunately it was taking the wrong, like a different pathway, because it could have had such a different like impact in the world. But it definitely does still impact the world, just not maybe how it should, right?
Yeah.
Personally.
And it's also in private hands. It's not even public companies that are in charge of it. There's very little the average person can do about how it's being handled.
There's no regulations or laws are in place for AI, and it's in a way it's become a very dangerous tool. And I think that it is such like a good tool to be used, and I think that with people abusing it and using it for the wrong reasons, it has become a very like evil and malicious tool. So I definitely think that if maybe there were laws and regulations in place before the system came out, I think we would have avoided a lot of issues that it has made today.
What about you, Avani? Do you have any like thoughts on AI? How do you feel about it?
I feel like similar to what you guys were saying, like I feel like had it been introduced in such a different way, like maybe the general public should not have gotten access to it as quickly as it happened, if you know what I mean. I feel like there could have been different ways to go about it, like maybe focusing on a smaller audience and then moving on to eventually maybe more people could use it. But of course, like that's when AI has like restrictions and we know that it's not going to be like abused by people, which is happening right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think that because of the introduction of AI, the need for higher education is more needed now because, AI can take very simple jobs now. They can do a lot of like the bookkeeping jobs that they don't need humans to do it anymore. And I think that requires like a lot more students are getting master's degree now, even higher education. And I think with that means that public schools and even private schools need to start stepping up their academic rigor and all their classes in order to catch up to the academics that are needed and to help like set up students to succeed in the future when getting a master's or a PhD, because that is going to be needed in the future.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that we need to focus in public schools on having like a very solid civics, civics education, because especially now with AI taking away these jobs which people thought were going to be the future, like computer science, what AI can't do is manage humans' lives. And we need to understand how like sociology and like government works in order to like just live our lives.
All right. Right now you mentioned that there were some things that AI like can't do, right? Going on from that, right? Let's say in like a while, like maybe 5 years, 10 years, right? The way AI is now advancing, what do you think what do you think is gonna happen with AI? How, like its advancements, what it will be able to do, and what it won't be able to do.
Okay. So a lot of top AI researchers say that within 5 to 10 years or even longer, we'll reach this point called a singularity. And that basically means AI will be progressing from AI models, and humans won't be the ones taking charge in developing these AIs. And people are pretty concerned about that because it means that after multiple models on top of each other, people are worried that the foundational code that says that AI can do no harm, it cannot risk any humans' lives, it'll just stop being part of its interest. I think it might take a little bit longer. I think that people in charge of AI are considering this singularity point. But I do think it is worth noting. But I think over the next 5 years, we'll continue seeing these trends of jobs being taken and poor handling with elite.
And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised either because I mean, I can't really compare AI to like humans, but like throughout history, American history, we've seen that like when we first became colonies, we're like, yes, this is our land. And we just kept pushing out the Native Americans, kept moving westward, kept breaking more rules, etc. And I mean, what's the difference with AI? It's doing the same thing. It's taking jobs, it's taking a lot of things that were jobs to people and leaving people jobless. And it's requiring a lot more education. It's requiring a lot more for humans to just try to be a little bit of AI. And so I think I agree with you. It's a very dangerous like path that we're taking, and just like looking at it from history and from even now, like there is no difference. We're going down the same path and the same road of just like pushing out things and developing more, which is kind of scary, but it's inevitable.
And I know I've been saying that AI is the one taking jobs away, but it's really these corporations that are firing their employees and replacing them with AI models. I think it was like last month, October, where Amazon fired, I forget the number, but it's over 100,000 employees.
Wow.
I remember hearing something like that. I'm like, that is insane. Because that is people's entire livelihoods just out because of AI.
I think it was something like 2% of their overall employees.
That's crazy. But, you know, everything's based off of money. It's cheaper. People are going to want to hire that. You know, everyone wants to make more money. And since AI isn't something that you just have to pay per hour, obviously the CEOs are going to want to like find something that are going to make money quick and efficiently. And that is getting AI, unfortunately, working for human jobs.
And then philosophically, I think AI rights are pretty interesting.
For like the whole job taking and everything, right? In a way, well, AI is like obviously the cause that it's like the reason why jobs are being taken. There are corporations that are still like the ones that make it, you know, that advance it, right? Why do you think they keep on advancing AI despite knowing that it's turning into a dangerous object?
Well, it's the same reason that these corporations are using AI to fire their employees. It's because, or lay off their employees, as they say. It's because there's money in the technology, and there's especially money in weapons. And we've seen that with Palantir that wants to use AI to create weapons.
Yeah, like Clive said, it's an easy moneymaker. Everything's about economics. You know, if it's cheaper, it's cheaper. And people are willing to pay a lot of money for cheaper labor. And even though it's quite sad, it's the harsh truth. And so that's why a lot of tech companies are developing more higher like AI tools to help spread throughout a lot of tech companies and a lot of companies that want that assistance. So yeah, it's just economics. People just want to make more money. And that just means, you know, not paying humans to do certain jobs.
Okay, well, we've talked about the dangers it has for people, right? Now, I want to know about the dangers it has on the earth.
Yeah, so there are basically two main concerns with AI systems, and they both have to do with the main databases, which are all across the country, all across the world, and they require large amounts of water and large amounts of energy, and it's water for cooling and energy for power.
Yeah, I saw this one thing where Microsoft was putting their databases in the ocean, and they're heating up the ocean by just trying to cool their systems. And I mean, yes, one pod, it's probably not going to do a lot, but if you have multiple pods of these systems inside the ocean, it's going to do a lot of damage. And I think that people are just so like, they just don't really think about the consequences, but more about the money, because it's just such a selfish way of thinking, but it's the harsh reality. You know, they don't really think about how that can really affect our future. And global warming's happening quick, and with the creation of AI and the development of it, it's going to make global warming happen a lot faster.
And I don't want to spread misinformation. I forget if it was GPT-3 to GPT-4 or GPT-4 to GPT-5, but one of those jumps to the next model was 1,000 times the size of the last model, which just means 1,000 times, even more exponentially, amounts of water and power.
That's insane. I feel like most people, also like these corporations who are using AI, obviously for money, right? It's basically what you said, Sammy, sorry, like free labor, right? But I feel like they're also using it very passively. Like they are not understanding what is happening to our Earth as we are constantly like making these upgrades. Like I feel like Clive, what you were saying before, like as these models are like building upon each other, I'm just thinking about like how detrimental that's going to be to like our resources. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm still hopeful in fusion energy. We're making some pretty good breakthroughs in that. So that's at least good for energy.
Could you clarify what fusion energy is?
That's out of my lane, but it's so stars, the way that they create energy is by taking, it's by creating atoms, by like pushing hydrogen atoms together and creating helium. And the idea of fusion power is to create that kind of energy on Earth.
Okay.
Okay, well, I was actually talking with one of my friends last night about everything that's going on and like the earth and climate change and all of that. And I don't know, I feel like it's starting to like, it definitely has become like a really bad situation. There has been like just a lot of changes. It's gone really bad, right? But the good thing about everything is that we can still make an impact, right? Maybe one person can't do much, right? But if everybody does their part, maybe like there might still be a possibility, though. I'm not sure if it'll like do like everything. Like I don't think it might like turn everything back, but I think it could still give us like at least a little bit of like hope, right? Because change is still possible, I feel like, right?
Yeah, and we need to give people resources, especially with AI. AI, I personally use AI because I feel like I know how to responsibly handle it. But I know that the majority of people don't know how to properly use AI. Even on social media, I've seen people like in like older individuals not be able to tell what art is made by AI and what's not. So we really just need education on this.
Yeah, I mean, just going on with the art idea, how do you think AI has affected the creative and art community, especially since it is taking away a lot of people's like art careers and it's also like plagiarizing a lot of art that's created by actual artists?
So I think that art is one of the defining traits of humanity. Art allows us to connect to one another, and even though we can never know how another mind works, we can still absorb people's arts, and it allows us to get some kind of like understanding and empathy to other people. And I think that AI art, since we're as humanity, we're not interested in how AI is AI's perspective, if they have a perspective, if it has a perspective, but also the way that it creates its art is taking from multiple sources and like piecing it together. But is that also how normal art works? Because we copy what we've seen before. So it's pretty interesting. I don't think I can make a definitive stance on it, but I do know that for people who oppose AI, then AI art is very
Yeah, Briza, I know you do theater or performative art. How has this affected your community specifically?
Well, I don't really know much about like that, but because well, for my perspective at least, I don't like anybody who says that they um are AI artists. I don't like that. I don't like AI,
Mhm.
and like using, for me, putting AR in any type of art, even on theater and stuff like that. No, I don't
Mhm.
like it because I feel like the whole thing of art is the humanity. Like putting your soul in it, putting like your heart. That's for me. I do a lot of different things. Most of them involve speaking out loud and stuff like that, right? And I have really severe social anxiety. Um, I've like struggled with that for a long, long time. I had to go to the hospital at some point because it was like so bad. Um, I've had to go to therapy and all this stuff. But despite the social anxiety and all this stuff, I still do things that put me out there, right? I've danced in front of the whole school. Yeah. And all that. I've like, again, theater, right? I've singed. I don't know how to say it. But
Saying,
yeah.
yeah.
Like in front of school, like students and all that. And I still struggle a lot with like social anxiety. I'm not really a person that likes to go out. But I feel like when it comes to art, it's so like, it's supposed to feel like
Personal.
personal. Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I keep on like going despite like having to put myself out there and fight back on like wanting to leave, because you're supposed to feel like different emotions, and AI doesn't have emotions, so it's not really art unless you actually put your heart in it.
Yeah. No, what you guys both said is just so beautiful. Like art is truly like the main definition of like humanity. It's how we communicate to people for the longest time. And I think that when AI plays a factor in the artistic world, it really does take away that part of humanity that we treasure so much. And so I completely like, for me, I don't want AI to touch art in any way, shape, or form. I think it's just so dehumanizing in a way. And I think it takes away identities, and it's just a really disruptive way of using a tool that isn't meant to destroy, such a beautiful thing, but, it said assist. And I think that since it's like, started making art and creating art, it's just not only like it hurt art more than it assisted it. So I'm completely against it. I think it's just something that, because like humans, it's very personal, and I think that it takes away that human connection from human to human.
What about Giovanni? Because I know that you draw, right? You draw really good, right?
Thank you.
I can confirm.
There's a lot of people that use AI for like to try and make drawings, right?
Right.
How do you feel like of that as an artist with like who draws?
I feel like basically what you guys said, I feel like art is like one of the most personal, intimate things that like humanity has, right? Like not just strictly art, but that could be like, we have performing arts, we have music, we even have writing, which is already, that's like one of the most notorious things with AI. It's like AI writing, making your essay right with AI. I feel like, making something by hand or doing whatever, like by a human, like those individual brushstrokes, whatever, right? I feel like typing a few words into an AI chat box and generating an AI art, I feel like it's just not on the same level at all. And I agree with you. I feel like AI artists I feel like it's just not, people may think they could declare themselves as an AI artist, but I just personally don't see where the value is in that. And if anything, I feel like that's like a very embarrassing like job to have if you are an AI artist, if you know what I mean. And I feel like I took AP art, so it took me like the entire year to like draw my art portfolio, and I had to follow like a theme, right? And it was about like identity, and like I really put so much work and thought into these specific pieces, and to think that something that I worked so hard on and so many other artists work very hard on can be compared to AI art, which is, I mean, I can see, I think Clive, you mentioned, like people may also consider it an art in itself because it's like compiled from different like painting sources, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I just feel like it just can't be considered on the same level, at least ethically. Like, definitely not, you know?
Yeah. And like, since all of you guys are artists here, what is like something that you think will like, how will the art community kind of like uplift from this moment? How will they like transition into like a better phase, regarding AI? Like, just since AI is just obviously going to be here, you can't do anything about that. How do you think the art community is going to just like kind of rise from this situation, this hardship?
I think we need global human solidarity, and we just need to see each other as people and recognize the art that we create. And then once we reach that point, we'll be able to appreciate each other's art and appreciate each other's perspectives to a higher level, where we won't even consider AI art as being to an equal standard. Like I said, Pandora's box has been opened. AI is in the world, but if we just appreciate each other humans, then that'll really help.
Well, I'm not really sure. But what I will say is like there's so much on technology, like all throughout, right? There's so many things happening. You go to TikTok, you can scroll for hours and hours nonstop, right? But I feel like a lot of people forget that there's still a world outside of technology, right? There's still animals that you can look out. There's trees, there's the wind, rain, everything. And you can feel that more than you can feel like what's on your phone, right? And I think that's one of the biggest parts we need to remember. Because what's on your phone, that can go away easily, right? Like pictures, they can be erased and all that, right? But the world, you live on it, And not only do you live on it, but everybody else does too, right? There's animals that are suffering right now, right? Not only are artists like suffering because of jobs and all that, but many, many different like workforces are like just not great right now, right? And I think there is like issues going on in AI right now, but like Clive said, it's like it's gonna stay, right? But maybe it should not be accessed for the public, or at least on some perspectives. Like there is no reason for AI to be on art, right? And AI does not hold as much value as life does, and AI is taking away lives.
Yeah.
There's that.
That's a beautiful thing, honestly. Like, wow, poetic. I feel like maybe we should have like a humans day, like where like all tech is gone. We learn from paper, we take hikes, we appreciate that we are living on this planet. And I mean, I just don't think people are aware of that. Like, honestly, Briza, like, I don't think that clicked to me until you actually said something about how we should appreciate life more. And I think that, like, there should just be a day specifically towards just appreciating the things that we have and being grateful and, just taking away that technology and that screen and AI and all that, just like appreciating just being human and being ourselves.
Well, honestly, I feel like it's not one day. It has to be every day.
Yeah, but it could be symbolic like Earth Day.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like on Earth Day, people like just take a bike ride, and then the other days they're just throwing trash and doing all that,
It was a big deal in the 70s.
Okay, well, we talked about like art and all that, right? But not only are like many people here artists, but everybody here is a student, right?
Yeah.
What are your like points on students more specifically, using AI for homework or even research?
Okay. So like I've already mentioned, I think that we need to take serious precautions using AI. I don't think it necessarily has to be used maliciously by students. I think what we need to do is we need to have AI be a kind of tutor, first of all, because sometimes when I have trouble with a math problem, I'm like, hey, hey, ChatGPT, can you walk me through this problem? But then the other way I'd use it is to get sources for my documents. I would not want AI to do any of my own writing. I want to do all the thinking on my own. But if it helps me get documents through an internet with trillions of websites or trillions of specific links, it really helps run through all of those.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. My school, we've taken away the personal devices. Some of my teachers even just do like homework or like classwork only and no homework. So they ensure that AI is not being used outside of the classroom. And obviously, they have all this like tech that they've bought, like stuff to regulate what students are doing, just to kind of observe and see. Personally, I think that it's great that like teachers are starting to adapt to it. I think that it's been a big issue the past like, I don't know, 4 years. And I think that since we're finally coming to a place where we can adapt to it a little bit, I think that's a good starting point. It's starting strong. I can see a lot of other students are like, even though they're struggling, they're thinking hard about it and they're not going the easy route, which makes me really happy because obviously learning is about developing and struggling. And if you have AI with you, you're not going to be able to learn anything.
I feel like also adding on to that, I feel like there's a lot of students or just people in general who are just like so frustrated because it's like you take the time to like genuinely write a cohesive, well thought out like essay or project or whatever, right? And like you can just use an M dash and then it's immediately labeled as AI. And it's just, I loved using the
Yeah, I
M
used
dash
M dash.
in middle school. Like I was the OG M dash user, okay? And to see that just being like condensed down to like, or just you have something that's really well written out and it's just so easy for professors or teachers or anybody to just label it as AI. I also feel like it's making the college application process so much more like stressful than it has to be because now at this point you're just overthinking every single thing that you're putting on your application because now colleges are putting AI like detect or and it's like so easy for your application to be rejected under the thought that it could be AI when it could just be your own work. And I just feel like in that sense, AI has kind of ruined education for a lot of people, including myself.
One worry about education that I have is the corporate control of education. So in the 2010s, Google made it so millions, I don't know how many schools actually, but a substantial amount of schools now use Chromebooks to this day and use Google for all of their searching, and a lot of schools use Google Classroom and all of these Google websites, and it's not a nonpartisan tool. Google has control. Google is one of the most powerful corporations, and they are making money from education, which I think is dangerous. And now they've also taken initiative. I've seen ads for it. They wanted to implement AI into education, and I think that's one of my biggest fears with AI in education.
It is scary, and I've done a lot of extensive research on this. AI is just inevitable. We can't control the speed of it. I mean, obviously, yes, if you are an amazing human being and you want to advocate for not using AI, be my guest. But there's only so much people that are willing to do that and spend their whole lives fighting for that. And with the development of that, I mean, there's a lot of, in my research about AI bias in the medical field, there's already universities implementing curriculums of AI to help train future doctors to use AI for diagnosis because they already know that that is going to happen in the medical field, sadly. And I mean, I personally don't agree with it. There's ways that we can mitigate that bias. There's systems, but it's just kind of like hurtful to see that. Healthcare is supposed to be a very personal, one-on-one thing with just doctors and patients, and the fact that in the future doctors are planning to use AI to diagnose patients is a little bit crazy to me. It's just a little bit scary. Like, they have my personal medical information, and that's inevitable. And like, I feel like that's just kind of like the start of it. Already universities are applying that curriculum within their schools.
And also AI in government as well, because there's this billionaire, one of the richest men alive, Peter Thiel. He is the CEO of a company called Palantir, and he wants the government to use AI to track all of the different departments of the government and make a single unified database, which is extremely scary because we have separations of departments for a reason. We don't want the FBI seeing, we don't want the Department of Agriculture to see what's going on with the Department of Defense. We don't want these different departments that all have to do with you, the American citizen, knowing each other's informations, because a lot of it is sensitive.
That's insane. I feel like also, like, when we were creating these systems of government, right? Like, nobody thought that we would have like potentially robots, right? Like what you were saying, Sammy. Like, nobody would have thought that a robot would diagnose us, right? I feel like that makes everything so much less personal. But going back to the government stuff, it's like we made this system intended for us, not for this entity to be looking over us, right? Doesn't even have a consciousness, if you know what I mean. So that's really scary.
Okay, well, since you mentioned consciousness, do you want to get into my philosophical ideas?
Please.
Okay, let's see. Where should we start? One idea, which is similar to the Turing test, like I mentioned before, it's about AI intelligence. So I guess I'll maybe ask you some questions.
Ooh.
Okay. So there was a thought experiment called the Chinese Room, created by John Searle, and it describes a person, a code breaker, in a room with connecting to it's like connecting to a phone call where he hears the Chinese language being spoken. So probably Mandarin. I don't think John Searle was very correct at his time. And he said that if a person, the code breaker has a code which can accurately decode what the language of Mandarin is saying, does he actually know Mandarin? What do you think?
That's
Does he
interesting.
actually know Mandarin? Are you talking about like is a code breaker a person, or
Yeah, it's a person,
does he actually?
but we can apply it to computers.
Yeah. I mean, if you understand that language, if you understand the meaning, because each word, has a meaning. I mean, yeah, you of course understand it. You don't have to speak it. For example, I speak Cantonese. That's another sub language in China. I don't necessarily speak it, but I mean, I speak a little bit, but I understand fluently of what everyone is saying when they speak Cantonese to me. So, yeah, I think that if you do understand it and you can code break it, then that does mean that you understand the language.
Okay, well, John Searle said no.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that?
He said it's because the code breaker knows the code, but he doesn't actually know the language. Except in my personal opinion, I think the code breaker will learn the language over time by breaking the code. So he might not start by knowing it, but he will eventually. And this applies to AI because the English language is not how AI is programmed. It's programmed in code, and it's like, can it accurately understand what humans are saying and like can it pass the Turing test? Like I said, can it accurately portray itself as a human if it doesn't even know English or whatever language it is?
I feel like it's kind of what you mentioned before. Like, this is one of those instances where AI can be used as like a tool for learning. I feel like that's kind of basically what happened in this situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question then.
Oh.
Have any of you seen Wall-E?
Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
I haven't.
I have like a vague like recollection of it, but I watched it, I think, yes.
Why don't you try to explain what the movie's about, Avani?
Okay, so basically there's two robots and that's all I remember.
I got it. We were talking about an AP seminar, actually. It's basically, it's like very end of the earth, right? There's a lot of trash. And these robots, Wall-E is technically a robot. He's the last of his kind that cleans up the trash and hopefully make the planet more livable for humans. And up in space are humans, and you can see them in these chairs floating around, super obese. Like it just shows, not the obesity part, it just shows that they can't function without these robots. And in a way, it's kind of predicting our future. I mean, like it's just basically showing the idea that like robots are doing so many tasks for humans that there is no requirement for humans to do anything anymore. Right?
Yeah, but
Oh.
that's the environment of the movie. But what's the main plot? What would you say? Maybe something with Wall-E and Eve.
Oh, the love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So robots falling in love. Like so when people program AI, they don't add any simulation for emotion, right?
Yeah.
But like I said with the Chinese room experiment, AI can learn. It can learn beyond its programming. So do you think it could potentially learn how to love or feel any other emotions?
Well, love is not something that you learn. It's something that you just have.
Yeah.
I feel like emotion is not really something that you can learn. It's just something that you have.
Well,
Yeah.
emotion is physical. In our brains, there are mirror neurons, which basically activate like our bodily functions based on what we see and what we feel and hear around us. Like, for example, when you see someone yawn, a lot of the time you're going to yawn in response. It's part of empathy. We have mirror neurons, which are part of our brain functions, which cause us to feel.
Oh,
I don't think AI will ever feel. Now, I'll say that because emotion is what makes us human. And I agree. It's neurons going to your brain. You can't learn emotion. That's what being human is. It's learning how to love someone. It's learning how to be angry at someone. It's learning what frustration is. And, the brain is essentially what humanity is, and you can't replicate that through AI. AI, like we can't replicate ourselves to be AI. Same thing. AI can't replicate itself to be human. So, I mean, it could get very close, but I don't think it will fully reach that development of feeling an emotion that we feel as humans.
Then once again, it's the Turing test. To what point does mimicry actually to what extent is mimicry actually like reality?
well, that's the thing. You just said it's like mimicking.
Well-
It's not actually like feeling it. Like you can pretend to do something. You can pretend to, let's say, I can pretend to like play a guitar, but if I actually don't know how to because guitar is not just like playing an instrument. It's not just about like the chords, like just randomly playing them. You know what I mean?
Let me put it this way. So let's just say a baby is a blank slate. A baby hasn't yet learned newborn baby hasn't yet learned how to handle its emotions, hasn't yet learned how the world works, hasn't learned basically anything besides feeling the pain of birth. And AI, I think of as a similar way. When they're creating these models, they feed it information, they give it more context, and then And like humans, as you grow, you learn, you feel new feelings. It's like you're creating the next version of yourself at every moment, every experience around you, every interaction with a person, anything that the world has done to you, it becomes a part of you. And when people are developing AI, like humans are also mimics, is what I'm basically trying to say.
Actually, so I'm taking AP psychology, right? And I just learned about this actually that you just brought it up. But basically, I don't remember who did the study, but there was a study done on some like babies, right? And they were put like in a high place, and then they made it look like it was like a cliff, right? So like they would get like the stimuli like danger or whatever, right? But basically, again, babies, right? And then their mothers were put like to the other side, right? But right in the middle, it looked, they made it seem so it was like a big fall, but it wasn't actually because they didn't want to put them in danger. But then they like measured like the baby's heart rate, right? And found that like it would increase when they saw like that there was a downfall, right? So like biology still plays a big factor in how we act. Actually, it plays a big factor in our emotions, right? And even like they found out that even babies knew that like falling was dangerous. Like, yes, you do learn things, but biology still plays a big factor in how you act and who you are as a person, right? So it's like not everything you learn. There are some things that you just because your brain, like you just know because your brain is trying to survive.
And Clyde, you said something
Clive,
really
with a P.
Clive. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm just really tired today. Clive, I knew it. You said something really important about the action of feeling. Feeling is a physical and a mental thing. When you feel something, that is an experience that you are going to take forever, right? AI can't feel. It can't physically touch you, and it can't mentally, because it doesn't have a brain, mentally feel. Yes, when you talk about how far can AI mimic, I think the furthest it'll get is something close to emotion, but it'll never reach that point of pure emotion because it doesn't know how to feel. It can't feel because it's a system that is created by humans. So it physically cannot go out of its like actual, in a way, box to feel something.
From what I understand, you're saying that only organic life can feel instead of mechanical. Why would you say that?
Because the action of feeling is a physical and mental thing, which is something that AI doesn't have.
Could I answer that?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Again, for like biology class, right? So feeling and like emotion and all that stuff, right? It doesn't only just like it comes from different things. It's not just like one thing. Like there's your biology, right? Like your brain, right? The need to survive. But there's also human experiences. Like how do you like let's say embarrassment, right? Like first of all, like if you're gonna do something that's like might be okay, if you're gonna do something that might be deemed as like dangerous, your heart will start beating super fast, right? Or if you get embarrassed, again, your heart will like start beating fast, right? Because you can like physically feel it. You can feel the emotion. You can like, right? Because of biology, but also trauma can also play a big role, right? Because there are some things that, let's say there are some things that like I can be scared of that you might not fear, right? Because of things like
Personal experiences. Yeah.
right. So when it like says about like emotion and all that, it's not just one thing that brings it. It's many factors that play in a human life, right?
Yeah. Avani, what are sorry? Oh, so sorry. Did I interrupt your thought? Okay, Avani, what do you think about
I was just listening
the
to what you
definition
were
of
saying.
feeling?
I feel like when we talk about like love and emotions like that, I feel like we can only really talk about it from like humans and animals and actual organisms rather than like technology, because I can see how we can kind of see how technology can mimic the emotions, but at the end of the day, like, that's all it can be. Like, it's gonna stop at mimic. Like, it can only be a like mimicry, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like emotions and feelings, it's just so, I feel like that's just nature. I feel like it's something that AI will never be able to replicate, because if anything, AI has been programmed by us. And, you know, if anything, if any empathy they're feeling, it's just a mimicry that we're feeding it, if that makes sense, right?
Okay. Well, another question here,
Okay.
Clive. Let's say if AI did ever like acted or talked exactly like a person, do you think we as like the people should treat it like one, or do you think it would still be a tool?
Now, I think there are ethical implications if AI can genuinely feel. Like, I personally am skeptical to think that it's only biological organisms that have the ability to feel, because I believe that at the root of all life, we started as single cell organisms and we built up. We got the ability to improve our biology, and then we got the ability to learn and mimic, like I said. Like DNA, I kind of think of as being code, and I'm skeptical to think that only biology has the ability to feel, which makes me think that if we do treat AI as a slave class that has no rights and is forced to do work, I think, first of all, that could be a motivation for that singularity point, like I mentioned at the beginning, for it to turn against humanity. But also, I think it's just dangerous how we aren't considering any of these things when we're creating AI.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that AI, like, if that is the case, how do we incorporate their being into our society, right? I mean, and what do you call that? Like, it's not like racism, but what do you call that when you like incorporate?
Calling them clankers.
Oh, goodness me.
Wow, I guess I don't know, that's another saying, but how do we incorporate such like a being into our society when they're not even human?
Well, it's a difficult challenge because we've never had any idea of something as intelligent as humans, because like we're always terrified of aliens, we're terrified of robots because we think that they're smarter than us, and or people think that they're smarter than us. So I think that maybe I'll be the first lawyer to represent an AI in court. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. That reminded me of a quick thing I just wanted to ask you guys about. What do you guys, like, what are your overall thoughts about, like, AI in, like, the legal sense? Because I don't know if you've seen on social media, but there's just, like, so many AI videos of, like, influencers and just random people. It's, like, it's, like, is it, like, do you believe it's just going to the point of, like, impostering these people? Like, it's just, I feel like it's gone so far at this point. Like, I feel like your personal identity can just be taken so quickly, and like people can put words in your mouth through AI, and it spreads so much like false narratives about that. Like, I just think it's insane how far it's gone.
It's chaotic in all fronts.
I feel like there has to be like some type of like responsibility with it on that sense. Like, there is no way somebody can just grab your image and make a whole like fake narrative about you. That should not be something that's legal, because like they're damaging
think
your
it is.
reputation, you know?
I don't think it is legal.
I hope not.
It's happening so much.
yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
There needs to be some court cases taken about this.
Well, this is a very, very big topic with so many things that I feel like we could talk about. But I think that today, when we talked about the more like philosophical ideas of AI, that was just a really great way to deep dive into such like a basic topic. But yeah. Pass it on to you, Briza.
It was a really, like you said, it's a really good topic. And thank you for tuning in to Tay Radio, where we deep dive into stories, culture, and community. If you liked today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who needs it. You can follow us on social media at Tay Radio Marin for updates and more ways to stay connected. Listen to us on Spotify, And you can also watch full episodes on YouTube at TAYRadio Marin. For more resources or to get involved, visit our website at the Multicultural Center of Marin. See you all on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you for having us on.